you believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, and walk across the water. You feel defeated, falling on your knees and looking up for some hope tonight. You try to stand up, but you throw your hands up. You no longer have the strength to fight. You've seen too many sunsets, too many days, ending in the darkest night. But on your own, you'll never know, you'll never know. If you believe you can move the highest mountain, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water. Believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water. If you believe you say that all you need is faith, but it's almost like you lost your way. Took a few wrong turns, took a few breaks, falling behind now looking for grace. Cause you need someone to lift you up, yeah, make right of the things you've done. Cause on your own you'll never know, you'll never know. If you believe you move the highest mountains, across the greatest oceans, walk across the water. Believe you can move the highest mountains, across the greatest oceans, walk across the water. If you believe, if you believe it. You can do anything, you can do anything, you can do anything if you believe. If you believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water. Believe you can move the highest mountains, cross the greatest oceans, walk across the water. If you believe
Thank you so much, everyone.
Can't
Please
hear
allow
me.
me a moment to introduce Eurasia Research to you in a nutshell. Yes, hello.
Hello, yeah, I
Yes,
can hear you now.
please allow me a moment to introduce Eurasia Research to you in a nutshell. With over more than 1 million satisfied members and associates spread across the globe, Eurasia Research is a scholarly association who have been working for nearly a decade. Eurasia Research has organized several successful international conferences, workshops, and training programs at various reputed institutions and grand venues. Eurasia has been tirelessly working for research world and have not stopped their endeavor even during difficult times, and have presented research community with online platform which was safe and convenient method to continue their passion. We are an international community of researchers, practitioners, students, and educationists who aim to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals, encourage intellectual development, and to create opportunities for networking and collaboration. These objectives are achieved through academic networking, meetings, conferences, workshop projects, research publications, academic awards, and scholarships. Some of our key highlights: we provide scholarship to deserving candidates to promote students and research scholars to participate in the international conference. Young research scholarship is provided in the form of full registration fee waiver. We have vast experience of publishing papers for more than 7 years. our associated journal publish original papers and review paper, conceptual framework, analytical and simulation models, studies, empirical research, technical notes, and book reviews. We cater to more than 30 plus teams in the area of teaching and education and have registered ISSN and have following renowned indexing Google Scholar, Crosscheck, Authenticate, Crossref, The Keeper's Registry, Scrib, Portico, Wrote, Directory of Open Access Scholarly Resources, OAI, PMH, Registered Data Provider, PKP Index. We will soon be applying for Scopus tool. We have a wide network of 100 plus internationally acclaimed keynotes across the globe who share their knowledge and guidance with the participants with open hands. We have a large number of committee members and advisors who support us and guide us through their expert opinions and decision making capabilities. We couldn't have the thought of reaching here without them. We also encourage our participants to connect with more than 15K plus followers on our social media platform where they can share their research and interest. Join our Facebook group and be a part of discussions by researchers and academicians. We also have several collaborations with universities, colleges, and institutes to better serve all interested and like-minded intellectuals. With great enthusiasm and pride, we would like to request our participants to enjoy the benefits of our lifetime membership in just USD 60. We have over 10,000 plus members from across the globe. Thank you so much. Myself, Eurasia Research Conference host, Ms. Mudita Bidwalkar. I welcome you all for today's conference. Now, we have with us our TERA President, Lynn M. Shelley, PhD, Higher Education Executive, Adjunct Professor, Boston College, Chestnut Hill, MA, USA. Let's see what she has to share with us.
My name is Dr. Lynn Shelley. And I'm an executive leadership. My name is Dr. Lynn Shelley, and I'm an executive leadership consultant, full professor, retired. I am currently teaching adjunct in the executive doctoral program at Boston College in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, and at the University of New England in Portland, Maine, in their doctoral program as well. I've been in the profession for 44 years as a teacher and as an administrator from grades pre-K through doctoral programs. And I consult with colleagues around the world in these areas of leadership and culture building and transformation and strategic planning. And my research is focused in areas such as that, and that have common goals and common strategies that need attention and need to be moved forward in this ever-changing global world.
So, ma'am, the first question, we would love to hear about your research journey, how it's going, and the projects you are handling right now.
My research, my name is Dr. Lincelli. I'm president of the Eurasia group, and I'm very happy to be here. I have been doing some research and starting some writing about the leadership in this new global environment, transformative leadership in the new global environment that we are living in, and hoping that this research will help current and future leaders at every level in any type of organization. Because of the AI connection, because of the global impact that the culture and the variables that are happening around the world are having.
And next question would be, could you please share with which paper
बंद हो गया था क्या?
I've been in education for 44 years, every level. Most recently, the Dean of Graduate and Professional Education was Beverly, Massachusetts, United States. And my main travel was with Eurasia Terra as the president and keynote speakers. most recently, the Dean of Graduate and Professional Education at LaSalle University in Newton, Massachusetts, United States. And prior to that, I was Dean of Professional Leadership Programs at Endicott College in Beverly, Massachusetts, United States. And my main travel was with Eurasia Terra as the president and keynote speakers. So that's what I have done. I've also done other conferences, but once I became president, I felt like I needed to really give my focus to the organization, to Eurasia Terra, and to be able to impact around the world. Most recently, I sat on a dissertation committee at Boston College, Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, with a vice president from a university in Russia.
Okay.
And she was trying, her dissertation was focused on changing culture to adapt to the global world. And Olga did a fantastic job. And of course, when I have those kinds of opportunities, I talk about this wonderful organization so that we get a presence around the world.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for sharing the details with us. And ma'am, my last question would be, what advice would you give to early career researchers, like the beginners, and what advice would you like to give them?
The advice is multifaceted. I think that there are several things that they have to keep at the forefront of their minds. That research that they do should always be something that can impact their work, their organization, and or the world. So it has to be current. So to that point, they have to be proactive in where they're focusing their research and knowing what's happening in the world all the time in their certain professions, if you will. They have to add, they have to value add to their professions. So that would be very important. They have to have an open mind that their research, especially if it's quantitative, might not necessarily bear out the results that they want. And that's okay, because that shows what really is impacting their work and their organizations and the world. And the third thing that I would do is have them network with people and colleagues like myself and other people doing work, not necessarily in their own professions, but if it's a crossover kind of focus for research that crossovers different professions, that they network and become familiar and have standing meetings with other researchers, because that can be so rich and can help people so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving the advice, and it will be very helpful for them.
Hello, good morning, Ms. Buffett. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Sorry everyone for the technical glitch. We had some internet issue in between. Okay, let's move forward. We would like to share some of our past experience of our participants with you. Our eminent speakers video will be sharing soon.
Good too. So we will start with our questions now.
Okay.
You have presented your topic, drivers and outcomes of the capital analytic in the conference. Can you explain your research in a nutshell?
Right. So thank you so much, first of all, for giving me the opportunity to explain my research. And my research is about human capital analytics. And human capital analytics has become integral for organizations and companies nowadays for informed decision making, for optimized resource allocation, for improved performance, for talent management, strategic alignment, and just whatnot. So we conducted a systematic literature review, and a total of 81 articles were analyzed in this process. And a model has been developed for the human capital analytics. So there are 4 drivers and 7 outcomes of human capital analytics that have been identified in this particular work. So the drivers include organizational culture, employee hard and soft skills, employee competencies, and skilled workforce. And the outcomes include stronger interdepartmental relationships, improved employee performance and behavior, knowledge-based sessions, improved company performance, provision of competitive edge, risk reduction, and enhancement of strategic organizational capability. So in the research, we see that the human capital analytics is an emerging phenomenon, and yet much literature does not exist in this particular phenomenon. So considering the minimal exploration of HR data analytics and its hidden role in the company's performance as well, the area has been very less approached by previous researchers. So our review addresses the mentioned shortcoming, and it provides a roadmap for the future research as well.
Thank you for explaining your research with us. What are the challenges you have faced in your research journey?
So the challenge I faced was that, we have analyzed these 81 articles, and much research has not been carried out in this particular topic. So there was very scarce data available. Secondly, if you say that human resource analytics has been used, with various names in multiple researches, previous researches, like it is also called talent analytics. Somewhere it will be called people analytics. So the data was not available so easily, and even the research prior that has been carried out. So it has been really scarce, and much research was not carried out before 2015. So this area has been more of a focus after 2015. So it has been hard to actually get the data and come up with this model. So yeah, this was the major challenge that I have faced in this particular research.
We appreciate your research work. What is your motivation during your research?
So my motivation for this research is that, as I told you, that it brings immense importance for the organizations and the companies. And if human capital analytics is not actually integrated into the practices of the companies, then, the company or the organizations can be actually compromising on data quality, on the data availability. It even represents, technical expertise and provides a competitive edge for the companies. Then it is also, like if it's not there, then the organization might be resistant to change the employees over there. So it's really important that human capital analytics is integrated within the companies and organization, because it has a huge impact. And if they do not focus on it with today's technology that we have, with today's technological tools that we have, if this is not focused much by the organization, they're just losing on some very important, aspects of their company, which can contribute towards much better performance of their company. So I would say it has a huge impact. And because it provides a better understanding and utilization of human capital and human capital analytics, and it also contributes towards innovation within a company. So my motivation has been that it has such huge advantages that I personally believe that even by looking at the literature at this time, that companies need to adopt such kind of analytical techniques which are not being widely adopted by them. And if they do so, it can contribute towards innovation within their company as well, because they are managing their human capital in this way. And they're getting some analytics on the basis of which they can make really integral decisions. And if they're not using this, then they're simply, at an oversight of some very important variables, some very important analytics, because if they are not implementing it, definitely they're not seeing it in numbers. And in organization and companies, numbers is all that matters. If it's in front of you, you can make integral decisions. So, because this part of, this human resource often gets neglected and in companies. So whether it's, large companies still do some justice, I won't say they do justice in its complete form, but some justice. But if we talk about, new ventures, or when we talk about small to medium organizations and companies, their focus has not been much towards the HR side because they have limited resources. And in those resources, their focus is more towards other things to make to improve their company performance rather than going more towards the analytics. So analytics now in today's era is, I would say it's not an option for the companies. It's actually what they need to implement if they want to improve and enhance their company performance. So the motivation has been this, and it is to actually bring, into writing, into research, that it is an integral part of every organization.
Thank you for your answer. What advice would you like to give to youngsters who just enter in the research world based on your own experience and insight?
So, my advice for young researchers would be that they need to bring along really strong analytical skills. They need to develop, a solid foundation in analytical methods and related software tools. And I would say that they need to have some advisors, some mentors with whom they can discuss their research work before they start it, because, people with more experience, people with more experience in research can give really, really integral advice. So I would advise them to have some really good mentors out there before they start their research, because their tips and tricks really do matter. And just keep, going towards continuous learning, because continuous learning is what will definitely make their research even better, and they would be able to contribute more towards academic literature.
Thank you for your advice. What is the positive feedback about the conference?
So, the conference was a great experience for me. The conference was, it was really good. I've always had a really prompt response from the host organization as well. So, in terms of communication, it was excellent. And the conference, when I was attending the conference, it was so well organized. There were really integral research that was shared by other scholars as well. So it was a great experience to hear them out, to hear the work that they have been doing and learn more. So I believe it was great in terms of that, and it was absolutely great in terms of the organization by the hostess as well.
Thank you
I
so
would
much.
really recommend, yeah, I would absolutely recommend people, to join Eurasia Research future conferences as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. We are so grateful to have you.
Thank you for your patience and valuable time. Moving ahead with the conference. Okay, we have with us Dr. Marvat Kadam, Reena Roy. Welcome to the conference.
Yes, thank you.
Moving ahead with the publication process. The publication process starts once the registration process is complete. The author needs to send their papers, consent forms, and reviewer details on the email ID of convener@eurasiaresearch.info. The abstract and papers received will be first published in the conference book of proceedings online. Only the selected papers will be first published. Only for the selected papers will be moved in a publication timeline. The review report will be sent to the author once the review process is over. The final stage of publication starts after receiving the revised papers from the authors. Please note that the publication process takes around 15 to 20 days after the conference dates if all the editorial guidelines are followed within the given guidelines. Thank you. So now we have our keynote speaker with us, Sita Sagaran, personal development trainer, lifestyle consultant, and motivational speaker. She'll be presenting on the topic diplomacy and leadership.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the
Good morning.
conference.
Can you please, I'm extremely sorry, I'm just setting up my presentation. Can you please have the first keynote speaker present before I present? Is that fine?
Sure. That's fine, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and regret the inconvenience.
No issues. Thank you. So, till Sita Sagaran ma'am is we will be starting with our next keynote speaker, Editomiva Emmanuel Edisocan, University of Nevada, Reno, USA. Will be presenting on the topic Nexus between carbon emissions and economic growth in Nigeria.
Okay.
Editomiva, please
Okay,
start
thank you.
with your presentation.
Okay, so am I expected to share my slide from here?
Yes, you can share your screen. Everyone will be able to see your presentation.
So it's coming.
Sure, we'll be waiting. Take your time. You need any help?
Yes, I'm trying
We
to
have-
locate.
Yeah, we have a share option with the on the Zoom screen. Yes, your presentation is visible to us. Please
Okay.
proceed.
Sorry, please. I'm coming. I want to.
You can maximize the screen.
Yes, I'm trying to do that, but you can't see the option here.
Yeah, we have this full screen mode.
Okay. Okay, so can you see well now? It is maximized, right?
Yes, thank you so much. You can start.
All right, thank you. Like, how many minutes do I have for the presentation?
Yeah, you can take 10 to 12 minutes. Is it
10
fine?
to 12 minutes. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is 10 to 12, that's 8:24. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Adetomiwa Adeshokon, and I'll be presenting. I have this topic, which is nexus between carbon emission and economic growth in Nigeria. Okay. The motivation of this research is that over time, it has been discovered that economic growth and environmental sustainability has been a global challenge. It is not a country specific alone. It is a global thing that every country of the world have to look into. And then it is also discovered that as an economy is expanding, there will be an increment in industrialization, and then there will also be an increment in energy use, which will in turn lead to pollution, which will affect climate and also affect health. Nigeria as a country is an oil-dependent country, oil and gas, whereby the energy usage or energy consumption in Nigeria strictly or most likely depends on oil. That means that at least 75% of energy consumption in Nigeria depends on oil. So given that this country is an oil-dependent country, it is then expected that greenhouse gas emission and also air pollution will also increase in such country. All right, so the background, the conceptual background, the theory, or let me say the hypothesis that explain the relationship between environmental degradation and development is what we call environmental crudeness curve theory, hypothesis rather. This hypothesis shows the relationship between carbon emission, which is the environmental degradation, and development. And then what this environmental crudeness curve says that is that this hypothesis splits these phases into three: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Phase 1 is when a country is experiencing environmental degradation, which is carbon emission. It is increasing, and then it is also experiencing economic development. That means that as the economy is developing, the environmental is also affected at the early stage. At the second stage, that is when we have it as the threshold point, whereby that is the peak. And then the third stage is when the economy is experiencing development, and then there is a decrease in carbon emission, which is the environmental degradation. So that is what we have there. And then this third stage, a country can only experience that if they have actually moved from non-renewable resources to a renewable resources, whereby they invest more in technology, they invest more on cleaner way of doing things. And then they also put in place policies that will reduce it. All right, so this environmental crudeness curve theory, hypothesis is what we have here. It shows this horizontal axis shows the carbon emission per capita. Then the other one, which is the horizontal, shows the income per capita. So I've selected some authors, some articles. Number one, we have Messenger 2015. He ascertained that there is a positive relationship between carbon emission and economic growth. His own is that as an economy is experiencing development, there will also be an increase in CO2 emission. And then we have Madali et al. 2019. This person discovered that there is a biocausality between growth and carbon emission. That means that the bi means that growth, as a country experiences growth, it leads to emission. And when there is an increase in emission, there is also growth. That means that there is feedback effect between the two of them. And then Akpan discovered that there is only one way causality from growth to CO2. This one is trying to say that it is only growth that can influence CO2, but carbon emission can never lead to economic development. That is what this one is trying to say. He's trying to say that this thing is just a one-way thing. It is not by causality. And then Salary et al. 2021 discovered that there is an inverted U shape. This one actually ascertained what the environmental crudeness curve says. So from all these selected articles, literature, or let me say from the literature, it can be deduced that we have mixed conclusion in Nigeria. One is saying that this led to this, the other one saying that no, this one led to this, then the other one saying that. So there is a mixed result. So that is part of the reason for this. And then the problem statement is that we all know that Nigeria has been facing economic growth, and as Nigeria faces economic growth, they are also experiencing environmental degradation. And then are you talking to me, please? Hello. Sorry, can I continue? Can I continue, please? Doors closing. Can I continue? All right. So the key research question is that, does Nigeria actually follow this environmental goodness curve? That is, do Nigeria also experience inverted U-shape relationship between carbon emission and economic growth? And then also, do Nigeria also attain this turning point? That is, do they attain this turning point? Are they there already, or they are almost there? And then we can also deduce that Nigeria also depends on non-renewable resources, and then this will also limit investment in renewable technologies. So the research objective is that I want to research to examine the relationship between carbon emission and economic growth in Nigeria. Why the specific objective is to analyze the statistical trend, the statistical property of carbon emission and economic growth over time, and also to test if this EKC actually holds in Nigeria. If it is valid, let us know. If not, then that is what. Then data source, population, GDP per capita, and trade data is being gotten from WDI, which is World Bank, and then CO2 emission is being gotten from Global Carbon Atlas 2023. And then the duration of this data is 63 years. It spanned from 1960 to 2022. So here I have the statistical property, which is the trend, which answered the second objective. And it can be deduced that GDP per capita is fluctuating over time. And it got to a point whereby it actually experienced increase and later started falling a little. And then here is the CO2 emission per capita, where this one is fluctuating over time. It's actually fluctuating. There is a fluctuation. All right, so the model specification. Model specification, the equation 1 shows that this is the implicit specification of the model, where we have CO2 per capita, which is a function of GDP per capita square, which is the square of GDP, and then also trade openness. That is the equation 1. CO2 per capita is where we have emission per capita. Then GDP per capita is gross domestic product per capita, and then we have the square of it, and then trade openness is what we have as TO. Then equation 2 is the econometrics representation of equation 1, where we already have it as an equation, where we have in of CO2 per capita, where we log CO2, and then we have the intercept, which is the alpha T, plus we have the coefficient of GDP, which is beta 1, coefficient of GDP square, which is beta 2, and then the coefficient of trade openness. And all these variables, they are all lagged. Okay, now the expected result, the expected sign from this result is that B1, which is the coefficient of GDP per capita, must be positive, because at the first stage, it is known that there is an increase in CO2 emission as economy experience development. So the expected sign should be, the expected sign for B1 should be positive, while for B2, which is beta 2, which is the coefficient of GDP square, must be negative, because we deduce that the third stage, which is the third phase of this theory, carbon emission must fall, and that fall is captured by beta 2 being negative. So once these two things is achieved, then we can say that there is an inverted U shape in that kind of economy. All right, so the third specific model specification shows that we differentiate all the series. That means that after conducting the unit root test, we discovered that none of the variables are stationary at level. So I have to differentiate it in order to be able to use it. So that is the essence for the third equation. Okay, so the methodological approach used is OLS. And then the reason I use it is that it quantifies the strength and direction of the relationship among the variables. And also it also provides predictive model for explaining outcomes given new data. All right, so the descriptive statistics is what we have here. This slide shows the mean for each variable, which is CO2 emission, GDP per capita, and trade openness, the standard deviation, the minimum, the maximum, and the number of observation. The number of observation used is 62 years. And then the statistical package that is used is data. So data is what I use to analyze this data. And then this slide, because of time, so I'll be a little bit. So this slide shows the Dickey-Fuller generalized least square test for Nigeria. This shows the stationarity of the series. And then it can be deduced here that CO2 is not stationary at level. None of the series are stationary at level, but all of them are stationary at phase difference. So that is why we have the order of integration to be like that. All right, so testing for co-integration tests. So we are trying to look at, is there a long-run relationship between these variables? And then it is deduced that there is no long-run relationship. Why? Because the t-statistic value, which is negative, the absolute value now, which is 1.384, is lower than all the critical value. So we can say that we have to accept the null hypothesis, which is that there is no co-integration, no long-run equilibrium, no long-run relationship among the variables. Moving on, the OLS result proper. From this OLS result, we can deduce that GDP per capita, the coefficient as negative, and then GDP square, the coefficient as positive. And then from the probability value, we can see that none of them is statistically significant, telling us that GDP does not affect CO2 emission. So none of the series are stationary. None of the series are statistically significant, though they also do not follow EKC pattern, even if they are statistically significant. Findings: GDP per capita is negative, but not statistically significant, while while GDP square is also not, it is also insignificant. Trade openness is slightly negative, also insignificant. The meaning for this, the reason, the intuition around this is that EKC does not exist in Nigeria. Discussion. The economic growth and carbon emission in Nigeria shows a weak, statistically insignificant relationship. And then we also know that Nigeria depends on oil. So because they depend on oil, the economy remains energy intensive and fossil fuel dependent. Okay. Trade openness shows minimum effect on emission, possibly due to the dominance of oil exports and limited grain. So there is only little little significance of trade openness. That means that trade openness do not really influence carbon emission in Nigeria. Conclusion: the study find no evidence of environmental goodness curve in Nigeria, and also economic growth contributes to the pollution driven with weak environmental safeguard. So in conclusion, it is deduced and it can be concluded that environmental goodness curve hypothesis do not hold in Nigeria. Recommendation: the first recommendation is that Nigeria should focus on how to move from non-renewable energy to renewable energy. That's number one. Number two, Nigeria should also come up with a policy that will forcefully force people to reduce how they emit. That's number two. Then number three is that encourage green trade policy to prevent importation of polluting products. That is, government should impose some policies that will discourage dumping of goods and services that will cause emission. For instance, we have goods in other advanced countries, let's say cars that emit so much, but because they don't use it in this advanced country again, they tend to send it down to these developing countries for them to use at a very cheaper rate. And once they consume that, it will produce emission. So they should try as much as possible to bring policies that will reduce all this dumpiness in these countries. So these are the selected references out of all, because the slide can't take everything. So thank you for listening. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Aditomiva. Many thanks for addressing all of us with your informating and enlightening speech. Participants, please put your questions in the chat box. Will be answered by the speaker. Shall we move ahead? Aditomiva, you can stop sharing your screen.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Moving
You're
ahead
welcome.
with our next keynote speech, Sita Sagaran. We are good to go.
Yes, we are. And thank you for your patience and my apology for the delay.
That's fine. Please present.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to begin my session with a note of appreciation to Eurasia Research for the welcome and the invitation. Having been associated with Eurasia Research for many years, it's always a pleasure to come back and present a keynote during conferences. Thank you for that. Now, today's topic that I would be discussing on is relating to diplomacy and leadership. So before I talk a little bit about what I think diplomacy can be and how it can help us in our personal and professional life, let's talk a little bit about Alexander the Great. The moment we all listen to his name, the thought that comes to our mind was what a great military leader he was. He's known to be a legend, a historical legend who had built one of the largest empires of the ancient world. Now, his skill lay in the utilization of several strategies, and that is where we are talking about how diplomacy may have also helped him create this large empire. He had founded cities. He had embraced local customs and culture. He had appointed loyal officials, and he combined the art of military tactics at the same time also using his diplomacy skills in ensuring that every place that he conquered lay in loyal, sincere hands, and the leadership hence became extremely strong. So what are the critical skills for diplomacy. The first one would be, any guesses? Any guesses? It is communication. And when we talk about communication, a small anecdote comes to my mind. Of course, this is from a personal situation, not mine, but a situation that was narrated to me by a friend of mine. A friend of mine had to admit her child in a certain group. It was as part of his extracurricular activities, and she had approached the head of this group so that she's able to enroll her child. The moment she had called the person up, she was met with a response that said, "No, you cannot put your child in. We are already full. There's no more place for your child. You better look somewhere else." Now she paused. This pause was for the purpose of wondering how best can she convince the person to adapt or adopt her wish to get the child enrolled. Pausing, she decided that she would explain her situation. She mentioned to this person that she was asked to come and speak after having received the agreement that the child can be enrolled. Now, the person on the other end was still rather difficult and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, there is no way you can enroll your child." And that is when she said, "Can you please check with the person and get back to me?" And the person on the other end of the call said, "Very well, I'll do that." And 2 minutes later, this person gets back to her and tells her, "Yes, ma'am, your child has been enrolled." Now, the person wasn't happy telling her this, but I believe it was my friend's diplomacy and skills in diplomacy that enabled her to get her child enrolled without too much of difficulty or having to wage a battle of words with the other person. So communication is very, very important. And when it comes to corporate environments, according to Harvard Business Review study, 69% of leaders, they admit that they're not comfortable in communicating with their employees, which goes to prove how important training and coaching is in the corporate environment. And of course, when it also comes to the other skills required, we talk about understanding the perspective of others through empathy. Now, empathy is also something which, if we find that we are unable to consider the thoughts of others with sensitivity, there is a dearth of empathy within us. So cultivating empathy is very important. And number 3, learning how to take a creative problem-solving approach. Now, in the example I gave you regarding my friend and how she managed to enroll her child, I think what we need to think about is, it is about being a little bit focused on problem-solving skills. Now, the first reaction could be that she was telling that, "No, I have already spoken to the person and I require to have my child enrolled." Now, this is where I want you all to think about. Is it important that you decide to go for a battle just because you want to get an upper hand or show your anger? Or do you think what is more important is we are selective about the battles that we choose to wage on or we fight for? So hence, that is when diplomacy is going to play a key role in negotiations and, of course, conflict management as well. So how to improve on these skills that I've just discussed with you? The first one would be to focus on listening to understand. It's very easy for us to just say that, oh, I heard you, but I can't be bothered deep inside. We may not say that, but by listening so that we are able to understand, we are also able to be in a better situation to be supportive of creative solutions and to be supportive of negotiations, compromises in our discussions with people. Number 3 is, once again, the practice of effective communication. And when I talk about communication, one person comes to my mind, that is the very, very well-known president, the 16th president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln, as we all know, guided his country through the Civil War and worked to end slavery. His ability to communicate, his vision of equality, and also his strong feelings of empathy, along with a vision of a free nation, of a nation that would welcome every member as its own, helped him understand different viewpoints, and he was able to lead with compassion as a leader. So when you think about leaders, some of the qualities that we invariably think about is how important diplomacy plays a role. We now come to a lady whom I have immense regards for, Sarojini Naidu. Now, she was a freedom fighter and a poet hailing from India, who used her speaking skills, her oratory skills to rally, motivate, and mobilize people, which was so important during the freedom struggle. And when it comes to the corporate environment, there is one lady that I would like to talk about, and she is the former CEO of PepsiCo, Indra Nooyi, who is known for her diplomatic approach in handling international markets, understand local customs, and build trust with diverse workforces and clients. Her focus on performance with purpose required a very delicate balancing act of business goals with social responsibilities across different regions, and the skill required high diplomatic awareness. So as we can see, diplomacy and leadership, rather effective leadership, goes hand in hand. And once again, we come to an even more key discussion of diplomatic skills, which is the first one would be to build relationship. Now, as I move on to the conclusion of my presentation, I would like to ask one of you, and I would love to have a volunteer who would come forward and speak. How do you build relationship? It can be in your corporate life, it can be in your personal life, but I would love to hear an input from one of you. What is your key strategy for building a relationship? Yes. It can also be one of our Eurasia Research representatives. I will have to catch either of you to give me an answer if that's fine with you.
Yeah.
How do you build your relationship? What has helped you to build your relationship? Whether it's your personal or professional.
Yes, by hearing them, by giving them time,
Okay.
and for caring for them, and some gestures and things like that.
All right. And what is the one skill that you would like to share with us, which has helped you in your relationship?
Communication.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. communication, yes. And your communication style, I'm sure there would be a certain level of, I would say, focus on how you would communicate with when it comes in your personal and professional life. And when you look at the difference between the two, what is the one factor that you follow, whether it's in your personal or your professional communication style? The one common factor. Okay. What I would like to mention here, thank you so much for being so sporty and participative. But what I'd like to mention here, it's about authenticity. So when you're authentic, now that is a common factor that you need to be looking at when you are in your communication style, whether it's your corporate communication style, whether it's your personal communication style, it's about authenticity. And authenticity is something, it's a very, very vital contributor in building relationships. Because the more authentic you are, the more you will be seen by people around you as meaning what you say rather than just saying for the sake of it. Yes, so building relationship is one of the key diplomatic skills. And of course, for that, authenticity makes a very, very strong contributing point in developing better relationships for us. The second one is consensus building. And the third one would be a cultural competence when it comes to understanding people. Because in certain places when you go, you will notice a handshake is not perhaps the best idea. It could be a bow. Like in places like Japan, it is a deep bow, reflecting respect and acknowledgement as another person that you're greeting. And of course, we come to the fourth one, which is an open communication. When I talk about open communication, while we need to be transparent, we need to be authentic, choosing our words, the tone that we use when we are speaking is a fundamental requirement because that shows our respect for the people we are speaking to and for the matter we are discussing. It's like when you are talking to, we are of course moving on actually a little bit away from diplomatic skills, but I think this is also very important when it comes to communication. That is, if you're talking to, let's say, a child, how would you be addressing a child? Or for example, if you're talking to a friend, you might say, hi, how are you? But if you're talking in a professional environment, you're more likely to say, hi, good evening. The tone, the body language, and of course, in many cases, even the words used also become different. Yet, maintaining authenticity is key when it comes to diplomacy and also listening to what they have to say so that we are able to come to a mutually agreeable compromise. I'd like to conclude by a quote by Bo Bene, which is, diplomacy is more than saying or doing the right thing at the right time. It is avoiding saying or doing the wrong things at any time. So with that, I'd like to conclude this presentation, and I would love to know if there are any questions that any of you might like to ask me.
Any questions from the participants? Dr. Mehbat? Aditya?
I don't have any question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Question.
Oh, yes, please do. Please. I'm sorry, I thought someone was about to ask a question.
Yes, please ask your question.
Well, if there are any questions that you would like to ask me, you're welcome to send me an email. I will be putting my details in the chat box, and it would be a pleasure to hear from any of you. So thank you very much and wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful day. And I do have another urgent engagement, which will require me to excuse myself from the session today. So regretfully have to take leave. Thank you very much. Wishing you all a great day. Thank
Have a
you.
good day. Thank you. Many thanks, ma'am, for
Enjoy your day.
addressing all of us with your informative and enlightening speech. Participants, please put your questions in the chat box. Will be answered by the speaker.
Thank you. Wishing you all a wonderful day. And my
And
special
we-
thanks to both of you as well.
Yeah, we would request you for a group photo.
Certainly.
Yeah. Please, everyone, please start your videos for a group photograph.
Start video from where?
Thank you so much.
I'm ready to present my work.
Yes, we'll be starting with that shortly.
Can I share my screen now?
Kindly wait for a few minutes. Thank you so much, everyone, for the group photograph.
Thank you very much. And have a wonderful day.
Have a wonderful
Thank you.
day. Thank you for attending the conference.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Moving ahead with our team activity, let's proceed towards our team building activity. Sometimes we miss the opportunity of connection and lineage with fellow participants of the conference. This team activity is to encourage interaction among all the participants. We'll be starting with a short video. The topic of our discussion is 5 tips to improve your critical thinking.
Hey, still thinking about joining the 30-day Python using AI bootcamp by AI for Techies? So what if in 30 days you could go from knowing nothing about Python to actually building apps and websites from scratch with just 45 minutes a day and a step-by-step.
Every day, a sea of decisions stretches before us. Some are small and unimportant, but others have a larger impact on our lives. For example, which politician should I vote for? Should I try the latest diet craze? Or will email make me a millionaire? We're bombarded with so many decisions that it's impossible to make a perfect choice every time. But there are many ways to improve our chances, and one particularly effective technique is critical thinking. This is a way of approaching a question that allows us to carefully deconstruct a situation, reveal its issues, such as bias and manipulation, and make the best decision. If the critical part sounds negative, that's because, in a way, it is. Rather than choosing an answer because it feels right, a person who uses critical thinking subjects all available options to scrutiny and skepticism. Using the tools at their disposal, they'll eliminate everything but the most useful and reliable information. There are many different ways of approaching critical thinking, but here's one 5-step process that may help you solve any number of problems. 1. Formulate your question. In other words, know what you're looking for. This isn't always as straightforward as it sounds. For example, if you're deciding whether to try out the newest diet craze, your reasons for doing so may be obscured by other factors, like claims that you'll see results in just 2 weeks. But if you approach the situation with a clear view of what you're actually trying to accomplish by dieting, Whether that's weight loss, better nutrition, or having more energy, that'll equip you to sift through this information critically, find what you're looking for, and decide whether the new fad really suits your needs. 2. Gather your information. There's lots of it out there, so having a clear idea of your question will help you determine what's relevant. If you're trying to decide on a diet to improve your nutrition, you may ask an expert for their advice or seek other people's testimonies. Information gathering helps you weigh different options, moving you closer to a decision that meets your goal. 3. Apply the information, something you do by asking critical questions. Facing a decision, ask yourself, what concepts are at work? What assumptions exist? Is my interpretation of the information logically sound? For example, in an email that promises you millions, you should consider, what is shaping my approach to this situation? Do I assume the sender is telling the truth? Based on the evidence, is it logical to assume I'll win any money? 4. Consider the implications. Imagine it's election time, and you've selected a political candidate based on their promise to make it cheaper for drivers to fill up on gas. At first glance, that seems great. But what about the long-term environmental effects? If gasoline use is less restricted by cost, this could also cause a huge surge in air pollution, an unintended consequence that's important to think about. 5. Explore other points of view. Ask yourself, why so many people are drawn to the policies of the opposing political candidate. Even if you disagree with everything that candidate says, exploring the full spectrum of viewpoints might explain why some policies that don't seem valid to you appeal to others. This will allow you to explore alternatives, evaluate your own choices, and ultimately help you make more informed decisions. This 5-step process is just one tool, and it certainly won't eradicate difficult decisions from our lives, but it can help us increase the number of positive choices we make. Critical thinking can give us the tools to sift through a sea of information and find what we're looking for. And if enough of us use it, it has the power to make the world a more reasonable place.
Okay, everyone, let's proceed with our first presentation. Our first presenter, Dr. Chiao Rang Chen, Department of Educational Management, National Taipei University of Education, Taiwan, will be presenting on the topic The Merger of Top University, exploring the operational efficiency of NYCU in Taiwan from a financial perspective. I think Dr. Chen is not present today with us. We'll be sharing the presentation on behalf.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I want to share my study about the merger of top universities, exploring the operational efficiency of Taiwan's NYCU from a financial perspective. Here is the outline. Top universities have gained access to more resources, but for a long time, there has been a severe lack of empirical examination from the perspective of financial efficiency rather than by research performance. Top University NCTU has maintained close cooperation with TSMC, the world's largest semiconductor company, and merged with NYMU in 2021 to form NYCU. Therefore, this study aims to use DEA to access NYCU's operational efficiency from a financial perspective between 2012 and 2023. Literature have indicated that excellent financial management were essential to ensure HEI's resources allocation efficiency and financial stability. Therefore, crucial for maintaining the quality of teaching and research, so as to critical to sustainable development and USR. However, literature on top universities still severely lack evidence verified from the perspective of financial efficiency. On the other hand, despite so many studies on the impact of university mergers across countries and periods, the results remain highly inconsistent. Some found economies of scale and/or scope, while others found diseconomies of scale and/or scope. The literature was so as follows. The methodology in this study is DEA, data envelope analysis models, is as follows. The financial measurement of 2 outputs and 4 inputs were as follows. The empirical results were as follows. The DEA estimation results indicated that since the second year after the merger, that is 2022, NYCU has experienced a decreasing return to scale trend in its overall output. That was because after the merger, NYCU maintained an IRS in research output, but shift to decreasing return to scale in teaching output as early as 2022. The results attested NYCU experienced economies of scale and scope in research production, though these economies of scale and scope in teaching output. Moreover, this study found these economies of scope arising from diversity of mission in post-merger NYCU. In addition, faculty members of NYCU tended to strengthen research and weaken teaching after the merger. Also, the merger caused the top university NYCU a surge in input factor, especially administration and the general cost, indicating that post-merger NYCU may experience these economies of scale and scope arising from maladjustment after the merger. While the post-merger NYCU had a resilience against the declined birth rate, its tuition revenue growth lagged behind that of student enrollment and even behind that of teaching costs due to the unreasonable government tuition pricing policy. So we make following conclusion and suggestion. The finding confirmed that the merger use diversity of fields, disciplines, and mission, along with multi-compass structure, result in this economy of scale and scope. Additionally, NYCU's strong resilience against decline birth rate, while Taiwan's current public university tuition system further undermine his financial stability and efficiency. So the suggestion to policymakers and the NYCU were as follows. First, Grant more pricing flexibility. Second, optimizing test allocation of top university faculty. Third, strengthen post-merger communication and coordination to reduce unnecessary administration and general costs. Fourth, enhance and leverage the economies of scope arising from post-merger diversity across field, disciplines, and campuses, leading to achieve both scale and technical efficiency. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chen, for your wonderful presentation. Please put your questions in the chat box. Moving ahead, we have additional paper presentation from Dr. Chen, which will be presented on the topic of better self-financing efficiencies of top universities, the case of NTU in Taiwan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I want to share my work about better self-financing efficiencies of top universities, the case of NTU in Taiwan. This is the outline. Although sustainability and the USR have get attention globally from nations and AGIs, the focus of top universities and the Good afternoon, everyone. Today I want to share my work about better self-financing efficiencies of top universities, the case of NTU in Taiwan. This is the outline. Although sustainability and the USR have get attention globally from nations and AGIs, the focus of top universities and the related studies were still most on international ranking and research performance. However, the efficiency of converting inputs into self-financing income was essential to guaranteeing the quality of education and research while simultaneously maintaining financial stability so as to USR to ensure their sustainability. Taiwan's regulations have framed public universities. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I want to share my work about better self-financing efficiencies of top universities, the case of NTU in Taiwan. This is the outline. Although sustainability and the USR have get attention globally from nations and AGIs, the focus of top universities and the related studies were still most on international ranking and research performance. However, the efficiency of Good afternoon, everyone. Today I want to share my work about better self-financing efficiencies of top universities, the case of NTU in Taiwan. This is the outline. Although sustainability Good afternoon, everyone. Today I want to share my work about better self-financing efficiencies of top universities, the case of NTU in Taiwan. This is our line. Although sustainability and the USR have get attention globally from nations and HEIs, the focus of top universities and the related studies were still most on international ranking and research performance. However, the efficiency of converting inputs into self-financing income was essential to guaranteeing the quality of education and research while simultaneously maintaining financial stability so as to USR to ensure their sustainability. Taiwan's regulations have granted public universities considerable financial autonomy. Since 1999, Top University NTU continuously secured the highest funding in Taiwan-wide initiatives. Therefore, the efficiency in using self-financing income should be identified as a critical determinant of its financial sustainability and its ability to fulfill its USR. Therefore, this study purpose to use DEA to assess top university NTU's self-financing efficiency, namely the efficiencies in transferring 4 major inputs to 2 primary self-financing income from teaching and research between 2012 and 2023. The global development in university autonomy in 1990s naturally spurred academic interest in exploring the relationship between funding sources and the efficiencies of HEIs. Ogun et al. 2010 revealed that external funding sources only contributed to higher HEIS patent and publication counts in environment with greater autonomy and fiercer competition, such as the US rather than the Europe. Subsequent studies have largely confirmed this result. The proportion of public funding might exert different influences on university income and efficiency, depending on the structure of the education system and the nature of public funding policies. The methodology and data in this study were as follows. The DEA models is as follows. The 2 self-financing outputs and 4 inputs were as follows. The empirical results were as follows. NTU consistently achieved pure technical efficiencies throughout overall sample years. However, scale efficiency and thus technical efficiency did only during 2015 to 17 and in 2019. NTU primarily relied on research rather than teaching to get self-financing income, and this reliance has shown an increasing trend over time. Though this study didn't find a conclusive relationship between the self-financing ratio and the efficiency. NTU experienced increasing return to scale in teaching and research, though self-financing efficiency in teaching was far lower than that in research. Although NTU had resilience against the decline birth rates, maintaining positive growth in student numbers and its increased tuition fees, it still faced a significant financial deficit in its teaching operation. Conclusion and suggestion were as follows. NTU's self-financing efficiency in teaching was far lower than that in research, and the financial deficits from teaching throughout all period, causing its deficit in most years. The results underscore the infeasibility of the current financial autonomy model for public universities in Taiwan amidst the rapid declining birth rate and the widening social wealth disparity. We're also taking into account the value of education, educational equity, and social justice, which also consistent with SDGs and USR. It becomes evident that increased government funding for public universities in Taiwan is essential. This suggested an urgent need for public policy reforms in Taiwan to ensure the financial sustainability and USR. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chen, for your presentation. Many thanks for addressing all of us with your informative speech. Please put your questions in the chat box, will be answered. Our next presenter, Marwat Tamim, Department of Physics, University of Baghdad, Iraq, will be presenting on the topic investigating the morphology and performance of sequentially deposited P3HT IC70BA bilayer organic solar cells. We have with us Dr. Marwat.
Hi.
Hello. Please present.
Yes. Files, advanced. Options. Is it presented now?
Yes, your presentation is visible to us.
Hi, my name is Dr. Marwat Kadum. I am from University of Baghdad, College of Science for Women, Department of Physics. My work is investigating the morphology and performance of sequentially deposited P3HT IC70BA bilayer organic solar cells. Organic solar cells have attracted significant interest due to their potential for low-cost, lightweight, and flexible photovoltaic applications. A critical aspect of organic solar cells design in the architecture of the photoactive layer, which governs the process of light absorption, exciton, diffusion, and charge carrier generation and transport. While the bulk heterogeneation has been widely studied, the sequentially deposited bilayer structure offers an alternative pathway for creating the donor-acceptor interface. This study focuses on the fabrication and characterization of sequentially deposited bilayer organic solar cells, using poly-3-hexothiophene as the donor and the indene C70 beta duct as the acceptor. The structural, optical, and electrical properties of the devices were thematically investigated. The optimized bilayer organic solar cells achieved a power conversion efficiency of 3.34% with a short circuit current density of 18 milliampere centimeter for the power -2 on open circuit voltage, and open circuit voltage VOC of 0.5 volt and a full factor of 37%. Atomic force microscopy AFM revealed a distinct surface morphology with the roughness of 16.1 nanometer, while UV spectroscopy provided insights into the optical characteristics of the layered structure. This work provides a detailed analysis of the performance parameters and material properties of P3HT IC70BA bilayer architectures, contextualized within recent advances in sequential deposition technique. In method parts, organic solar cells were fabricated on pre-patterned ITO-coated glass substrates. The substrate underwent a standard cleaning procedure using Decon 90 deionized water, isopropanol, and acetone, followed by drying with nitrogen and treatment with oxygen plasma. A whole transport layer of PE.PSS was spin-coated on the substrate and annealed at 140 degrees Celsius. The active bilayer was fabricated sequentially. First, a P3HT solution in dichlorobenzene was spin cast to form the donor layer, which was then annealed at 170 degrees Celsius. This is a schematic diagram for the bilayer organic photovoltaics devices. This is the ITO substrate and the PE.PSS and the P3HT, which is considered the donor, and the IC70BA, the acceptor, and TiO2, the other part. Morphological analysis. The surface morphology of the IC70BA acceptor layer and the bilayer structure was characterized using atomic force microscopy. The analysis reveals a textured surface with a root mean square roughness of 16.1 nanometer. The distinct morphology is the direct result of the sequential deposition process and the crystallization behavior of the IC70BA on the pre-deposited P3HT layer. The relatively high roughness suggests a prominent phase separation, which can be a double-edged sword. While it may facilitate charge percolation, it can also limit the donor-acceptor interfacial area, crucial for exciton dissociation. And this image for the of AFM for the OPV devices of the bilayer structure. This is the 2-dimension and the 3-dimension picture. This figure shows the behavior of the optical absorbance for the OPV devices from 300 to 900 nanometer wavelengths. And the JV characteristic for the OPV devices for the bilayer structure. Conclusion. This work successfully demonstrates the fabrication and comprehensive characterization of sequentially deposited P3HT IC70BA bilayer organic solar cells. The devices exhibited a power conversion efficiency of 3.34% with performance parameters directly linked to the unique morphology and interfacial structure achieved through the layer-by-layer deposition process. The analysis confirms that the while sequential process provides a controlled pathway for device fabrication, the resulting planar-like interface remains a limiting factor for charge generation compared to the intricate networks of bulk heterojunctions. Future optimization should focus on innovative strategies to enhance the donor-acceptor interface area within the bilayer constraint. This could include the application of post-deposition solvent vapor annealing to promote controlled interdiffusion. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marwet Kadam.
Thank you. Any questions?
Please put your questions in the chat box. It will be answered by the speaker. We have with us our listener from Jodhpur Park Girls High School, India, Reena Roy Burman, with us. With this, we come to the conclusion of this conference. Thank you so much. With great pleasure and enthusiasm, I would like to conclude that the conference was a great success. Many people have contributed in different ways to turn this event into a smoothly running conference with very interesting presentations. This conference has resulted in good discussions and networking. I owe my gratitude to all the presenters and patient listeners, to the coordinators and the whole staff of Eurasia Research for this constant support. I would also like to thank all the universities and institutes who have sponsored our participants and people who have directly or indirectly contributed in the smooth conduct of this conference. Our upcoming conferences around the world are in November 2025. We are having our conference in Singapore and London. December 2025, our conference will be in Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, and Bali. Kindly refer to your friends and colleagues. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the conference. It's a great pleasure to have you with us.
So can we leave now, please? Can we leave the meeting?
Yes, we are not able to hear you. Please be loud.
Can we leave the meeting now?
You're not audible.
Can we leave the meeting now?
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
can we?
Yes.
We are done, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Bye.
much for your wonderful presentation. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You too.